is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. And gotta say, I am definitely stoked about this interview, everybody. This is I've interviewed some legends in my time. I've definitely interviewed some people that have sold a lot of records. I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody that sold the most records ever, as well as creating the recognized greatest guitar solo of all time. He's back with a new album called American Rock and Roll, and that song was called Limelight, and this guy is called Don Felder. Don, how are you, man?
Hey, we're doing great. Good morning to you.
Yeah, no kidding. As I was saying to you right before we got started, I'm used to rock star mornings of like 2 in the afternoon, and this at 9:02 in the morning Eastern and 6 a.m. your time is just crazy, man.
Yeah, well, I actually flew into Washington last night. I'm playing at the Library of Congress today as a representative of ASCAP and going around and speaking with a lot of the senators and congressmen tomorrow about the situation for songwriters and publishers. There's under a law from 1941, they're probably the only industry that's controlled by the government. The pharmaceutical companies aren't controlled by the government. Their price settings, the automobile industry, nobody except the writers and publishers' shares are set in 1941. So we're here to bring some attention to that today and tomorrow and see if we can't make some headway with this.
Now, what are you trying to accomplish with it? Are you trying to get better, more fair, equitable digital rights, or more ownership to your own work, or a little of everything, or what?
It's really laws that were put in place by the Department of Justice back in 1941 governing what the songwriters and publishers can charge. They're the only thing that's been controlled like that in literally any free market in the United States. So those are old laws that really need to be revisited. The Department of Justice is currently in the process of reviewing all of those, and we're here to just bring some attention to with the senators and congressmen of the need to update those old laws from 70 years ago, which that was before any streaming, before any television, before Netflix, before anything of modern technology existed, and it's really impacted and held back a lot of songwriters that have worked and struggled their whole life to write catalogs full of great songs, and they're stuck being paid 1941 salary. So imagine if you were working as hard as you are today, and the cost of everything today, but you were being paid at 1941 employment rates. So we're just trying to bring an awareness to that for the good of all songwriters.
Sure, no question, Don. Well, Don, we're here to bring awareness to your great record, American Rock and Roll. I'm going to start by telling you, this is such a great record, man. It is so widely diverse, but at the same time, it has that definite thread that is clearly you in it. It's really, really a fun record.
Well, thanks. It was a lot of fun to put it together. You know, I started out writing song ideas that was just kind of not thinking about making it a full rock and roll record. Because I write ballads, I write acoustic nylon string guitar stuff like Little Latin Lover, like the rearrangement of Hotel California that I put together for the Hell Freezes Over taping and record. So I wanted some diversified areas to play in. So I could go out and play nylon string guitar. I could play big stadium rock songs like Rock You with Sammy Hagar and Joe Satriani. I could play some ballads and have Peter Frampton play on some stuff like The Way Things Have to Be that are pretty piano-based songs. Just, you know, it really frees me up to be able to write anything I want to write and record it any way I want to record it, where in the past I'd have to write for a specific kind of area of music with the Eagles, and had to write songs for the way people played. I knew Don Henley would be singing stuff, so I couldn't write tracks that had really complicated drum parts because he couldn't play and sing them at the same time. So right now I can write anything. I have some amazing players on this record. Like I said, Joe Satriani plays on it with me. Alex Lyston from Rush plays on it with me.
Richie Sambora.
Richie Sambora and Oriente. Slash is on it with me. Tons of people, amazing drummers like Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac, Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, Steve Gadd, who's just an incredible, legendary drummer. Jim Keltner's on it. Todd Zuckerman from Styx, the drummer from Styx, plays on it. A lot of just great musicians that I reached out to play on this record with me. Every one of them stepped up and did an incredible job. So it was a lot of fun putting this together and kind of having this rock and roll friend barbecue party in my studio.
Right. Now, Don, did you write and then contact, or did you write because you had people that said that they, with specific people in mind?
No, I wrote the songs first,
okay.
And then I had to figure out who I thought would be the appropriate person that I knew to play on that song. In other words, Slash came in and played on American Rock and Roll with Mick Fleetwood and Chad Smith playing drums on it. Perfect casting for him, right up his alley.
Right.
Peter Frampton played on a song called The Way Things Have to Be, which he and I had done a bunch of shows together about 4 or 5 years ago for the Frampton's Guitar Circus. And Peter plays this Les Paul through this Leslie speaker, and when he does it, it just sounds absolutely angelic, ethereal, just a beautiful tone. So when I was writing that song on piano, I kept hearing Peter's Leslie Les Paul. And so I reached out to him. He played on it and sang on the chorus with me. It was really a matter of knowing how people play and sound and choosing the right person play on the right song. Like there's this song called Limelight that I kept thinking, who do I get to play on this track? And it just turned out that Richie was the guy. It was right up his alley. I went out to his studio. He's got a studio set up in his kitchen at that time,
right.
Which was really an odd place to make a record, but it was convenient because you could just reach over and grab the coffee pot and pour yourself a cup of coffee without having to leave to go down the hallway somewhere at the studio, right? So we're in there playing these solos against each other, and I turn around and look, and down the staircase comes Oriente. Now, I've known Oriente since she moved to the United States from Australia, an incredible guitarist. She comes down, she'd just woken up. It's probably 11 o'clock in the morning. She got on a pair of cutoff shorts, a T-shirt, and a baseball hat, and flip-flops, just coming down to get some breakfast. I said, Oriente, you got to grab a guitar and play on this record. So next thing I know, she's plugged in and turned up to 10 and just knocking it out of the park. I think that may be one of my favorite solos on the record is what Oriente did. She just is a phenomenal guitarist, a great talent. I've seen her, like I said, when she first moved to the U.S. from Australia, and I knew back then that she will go on to be an amazing artist. And not only is she a great player, a great singer, she's working on a new record right now, and she's really easy on the eyes to boot. So anyway, she's going to be a huge star here.
Sure, no question. Well, Don, this will probably surprise you because we're talking about more of the rockin' songs, but my favorite song on American Rock and Roll is the song Sun. Sounds like it could have been ripped off of pretty much any one of the great Eagles records, of back in the day. I'm curious with you, what drives you in the creative process as primarily a guitar player? Obviously you sing as well, but you're most known anyway for the iconic guitar. What drives you to write and perform a song with that classic vocal harmony, of your Eagles past?
Well, it was really funny because when I first joined the band, it was the same year my first son, S-O-N, was born.
Okay.
And I had been exploring all these different tunings, much like Joni Mitchell did on acoustic guitar, and I came up with this really unique tuning and this way of playing acoustic guitar, and I wrote this song, First Glimpse of the Sun, S-O-N. And probably one of the most moving parts in your lifetime is to witness and hold your firstborn child.
Sure.
I had written this song. I hadn't completed the lyrics for it, but I had this song on guitar and melody and the title to it, First Glimpse of the Sun. And I played it for Don and Glenn. And they went, this was during writing for one of these Nights records. And they went, oh, that's really nice that you wrote that song for your son, and then just went on to start writing other stuff. They just kind of ignored it. And I loved the idea musically of that song, and I went back to revisit it, and I said, well, maybe the context of the lyrics is a little too narrow. First of all, it eliminates all the daughters. It's not the first glimpse of your daughter.
Right.
And the fact that only people that have had a son could really relate to that. So I went back and broadened the scope of it to a more spiritual, human existence, where when we're born onto the planet and the first thing you see is that brilliant, just unbelievably beautiful light, and you get your first look at being alive on the planet. Mm-hmm. And then through the course of it, as you realize that we're all back here to take it all in once again, and it feels familiar, and yet it's a new life, but it's a very familiar place to be. The last verse is about a warm crossing of life, when we depart this place and we cross over into whatever is on the next side of it, and we see that first glimpse of that light or that sun. So I thought it was a much broader, more just universal concept lyrically. I started playing around with it. Next thing I know, I'd recorded a basic track. I had a guitar that I'd gotten from J.Y. James Young from Styx's guitar builder that has a Sustainiac pickup in it. And I started playing this like really long slide parts that sound kind of like a pedal steel guitar on it. And then I thought, instead of me just singing it by myself, as I had originally thought I would do, I would build it as a vocal semi-a-cappella piece. And so myself and Timothy Drury, who's one of the guys in my band, built that whole chorus, all those harmonies together. And I thought it turned out as a really unique, different track that I started writing in 1974, to tell you the truth, when my first son was born.
Wow. It's a long history to get it out, but it is a great song, man. It's probably like I said, it's probably my favorite on the record. It's such a good track.
Well, thanks. You know, it does, a lot of people have reacted to it that way, and it just seems really unique that it was something that I wrote at the time that was very special to me, rejected by the Eagles, and now that it's out on this record, a lot of people really like it. So, and it's funny that you seem to associate that with the way an Eagles record would sound, and that was really who I wrote it for.
No kidding. Wow. Well, another thing that stands out on the record, and maybe it stands out because I saw you on TV with them, but it really seems like, and I'm talking about the song Rock You, but it really seems like you've struck up quite a friendship with Sammy Hagar. I mean, from watching you and him interact on his show, as well as, you know, obviously performing the song now, you know, on your record, it really seems like you guys have a creative vibe, definitely, but it felt like more of a friendship vibe going. Is that accurate?
You know, I've known Sammy since the 80s.
Okay.
We both wrote songs called Heavy Metal for the Heavy Metal soundtrack.
Right.
We've done shows together. We both go out and play our versions of heavy metal. We've done charity events together. I did his TV show together. We've known each other and hung out. And Sammy is such an easy, fun guy to hang out with, and he's just a great guy. And when I wrote that song, Rock You, it was like a stadium anthem kind of big stadium kind of setting for that song, and I wanted to do a duet. And I kept thinking, who do I get that has that really big rock and roll, unbelievable voice? And who else? Sammy Hagar. And so I got on a plane and flew up to Sammy's studio, and literally in about an hour of arriving there, he and I had sung the choruses and the verses, and he was going, you know, this is so much fun. You know, when I have to write songs for my record, I have to write the songs, do the arrangement, sing the lyrics, write the lyrics, sing the thing. I have to do all the work. You come in, the track's done, the lyrics are done. All I have to do is sing.
Sure.
This is easy. So we had so much fun doing it. I think we had a few conversations about maybe working on something together in the future, which would be a lot of fun, actually write something together like that. So, and then while I was there, you know, doing Sammy, we snagged Joe Satriani and had Joe come into the control room, and he and I set up a couple of guitars, and just out of thin air, just made up all those guitar parts that were on it, the solos, the harmonies, the trading off back and forth. Joe is such an amazing player, and it was so much fun for me to go toe-to-toe with Joe on that record. As for finishing up those guitar parts, Bob Weir has a studio a couple of blocks from Sammy's studio.
Sure.
And when it's dark and nothing's going on in Bob's, he always wanders over into Sammy's studio for a free cup of coffee and to hear the latest joke. So Bob comes walking down the hall, and I go, Bob, you got to come out here and sing Rock You on this chorus. So we got, I think, 5 or 6 Bob Weirs singing on the chorus of that record. It just all sort of fell together in an unexpected way, just trying to get Sammy on this record with me. And it was so much fun. Turned out so great. We actually had some shows we're going to be doing later together in the summer, and I'm going to work up that track and see if I can't get Sammy to come out and sing it with me live on a couple of those shows.
Excellent. Well, Don, you obviously, with American Rock and Roll, it came on the heels, I guess not right on the heels, but it came after your record Road to Forever, which was very well received by critics and fans. Did that put, and I guess this is a weird question to ask somebody that sold, 100 however many million records, but did that put any kind of pressure on you to either be more creative or outshine yourself from that record, because it was very well received?
Yeah, no, what happened when I did Road to Forever was that I played everything on the record. Well, not bass and drums and keyboards, but all the guitar parts. I think Steve Lukather came in and played on the title track with me, Road to Forever, but everything else that's on the record, whether it's electric guitar, rhythm guitar, slide guitar, acoustic guitar, mandolin, banjo, nylon string guitar, I played it all.
Sure.
I did all the arrangements and put it all together, which was great, very satisfying. But at the same time, the one thing I kind of missed was being able to do exactly what we did. Grab Slash and have him come in and work with him on a track and go toe-to-toe with Satriani or Richie Sambora and Orianthi. There's an excitement when you first walk in and you don't know what you're going to do. Nobody does.
Sure.
And you start coming up with these ideas and putting together harmony parts and trading solos, and I'll play low, you play high, and then as you start coming down and playing lower, I'll go up, and kind of do that dance together. And it's just fun to do that and be so creative on the spot, on the moment. And I really missed that on Road to Forever. And so this time I started to do it on a couple of songs, and it was so much fun, it became contagious. And so now I wanted to have more people come in and play on it, whether it was drummers, like Chad Smith or Mick Fleetwood or Steve Gadd or Jim Keltner or
Sure.
Todd Zuckerman from Styx, whoever it was, but to work with other new spontaneous players. As a matter of fact, Road Forever had the same drummer on everything on the record.
Right.
And so it all kind of sounded the same, sort of felt the same. So I wanted different tracks to sound and feel completely different. That's why we shifted a lot of different musicians around, from Peter Frampton playing on a beautiful ballad, The Way Things Have to Be, to Slash coming in and playing on the title track with Fleetwood, and Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers on American Rock and Roll. So it was a wide variety of talent that I had to choose from off of this palette that I could paint whatever sound and color and style I wanted on my record. It was great. A lot of fun.
No doubt. Now, Don, as I said when I was bringing you onto the show, I mean, there's iconic music, and then there's what you've done. I mean, if you just Google top guitar solos of all time, Hotel California is 1, 2, or 3. In every poll, everywhere, and certainly you're on the number 1 selling record of all time, and so many hundreds of millions of records have been sold. I'm curious for you now, does that make it easier to get your music out to people, or does that make it that much harder because people so look at it as, well, that's the guy from the Eagles, and they don't think to look at what you're doing now? Does that make sense?
No, I absolutely understand. I don't even consider that when I'm writing or
Okay.
recording. I go into a studio with some sketch ideas, maybe a guitar lick I came up with, or some lyrics that I wrote on a plane for an idea for a song, and I try to get out of my own way. I try to let the music that's in me just come out. I don't try to focus it specifically on a type of audience or a style or anything. That's why American rock and roll has stuff from, a song called Little Latin Lover that I played nylon string guitar on, that I wrote when I was down in Buenos Aires at this tango parlor where all these people were dancing the tango, and it was just beautiful, and ladies' dresses were flipping as they were spinning around, and it was just such an erotic, lovely night. I said, that's a song. I have to write a song about that. So when I was doing that, I wasn't thinking about trying to write a song that would fit on a quote-unquote rock record.
Right.
The song Son on that, like I said, was something that I started writing in 1974 after my first son was born. And it was S-O-N instead of S-U-N.
Right.
And so I don't really focus or think about history. I think about what's there right now at the moment. And at the end of the day, if I push play and I'm really excited about it and I really like it, it stays. If I push play at the end of the day and it's like, that's okay, but I send it to digital heaven. I hit the erase head, gone, So it's just one of those things that I try not to let the history influence me on what I'm doing today, or else you get trapped back in a place where it's a very narrow kind of market that you're and writing area that you have to write for. And I don't want to do that. I want to write anything I want to do. As a matter of fact, this next record, I have an idea that I don't think has ever been recorded, that I'm going to try to do something that's written almost as a guitar orchestra. Like if you were to have a 60, 70, 80-piece orchestra, and you would have first violin, second violin, viola, cello, brass, horns, percussion, all sorts of stuff, I'm going to put together a 4 or 5 minute piece of music that's conceived not as a song, not as something that's going to be radio friendly, but just as an instrumental piece of work that I can just explore that whole area. At the end of a week, it may be phenomenal. At the end of the week, it may go to digital heaven. I don't know. It's just an idea that doesn't conform to your typical tracks. And for me, Hotel California didn't conform to your typical rock track in 1975, 1976. So I love stepping out into unknown territory and exploring that way. So I'm going to do some more of that coming up on this next record.
Excellent. Well, Don, you're obviously touring. Talk a little bit about the summer and what that has for Don Felder fans.
Well, I'll be working on promoting this record probably for the next 18 months. I've got a tour in the United States. We're going to do a run through Canada. We're going to Europe the end of September, and again at mid-March. We'll be back over there touring and promoting and playing some songs from this new record. My live shows are fantastic. It's so much fun. I have an incredible band that plays and sings just amazing quality of music, even whether it's the new songs or some of the old Eagles songs that we do. These guys have just unbelievable pedigrees. My drummer is a guy named Stevie DeStanislao, who plays with David Gilmour on tour and in all of his records. Incredible drummer, sings, nice guy, also plays with Crosby, Stills, and Nash when they're together. He's out right now working with David Crosby on a little tour. My keyboard player was with me during the Eagles, a guy named Timothy Drury, great singer, co-writer on some of the stuff on Road to Forever with me, great keyboard, great vocal. He's worked with Stevie Nicks and the Eagles and Henley as a solo artist, and just a bunch of people. All of these guys here in my band have major pedigrees. They're not kind of your bar band quality musicians. These guys are the 5-star, top-of-the-line players and singers. So they do an incredible job live, whether we're playing stuff from Road to Forever, stuff from the Eagles catalog, stuff that's on this new record, maybe a tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan with Pride and Joy, whatever it is. They are unbelievable, and I'm so happy to have such a great band filled with such great people. You know, you spend 2 hours on stage with somebody playing a show, then you spend 22 hours the rest of the day living with them on a plane or a car or a bus in a hotel or backstage. And all of these guys are just really fantastic, first-class people. And to me, that's almost as important, if not more so, than the quality and caliber of their musicianship.
Awesome. Well, Don, the new album for people that are looking and should be looking is American Rock and Roll. It is out now. It's out everywhere that you get music. And Don, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the new record and maybe tell us a quick story about it to wrap this one up.
Okay, I would like you to play, let me think about this, Charmed. Alex Lifeson, the guitar player from Rush, and I have done charity work together. We've jammed together for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. When I heard from Neil Peart at my house at a birthday party 3 or 4 years ago that they were dead, I kept thinking that Alex is probably walking around with a golf club just wanting to play the music. So I reached out to him, and he responded literally within the hour. I'd love to play on your record. He lives in Canada. I had to send him some stems up to Canada. He got the stems and wrote me back and said, "What do you want me to play?" I said, "Anything you want. Just be you on this record." So he went into the bridge and played acoustic guitar on this song called Charmed, did an incredible solo at the very end that I kind of edited, so I made room for myself to play, him to play, and then the very last line on it, he played this incredible guitar part, and I had to figure out the harmony to go on it so we could end it together playing this little harmony bit at the end. But Alex just did an amazing job on it, and I was so proud to have him on board, even though we had to do it digitally from Canada to California.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. It is Charmed. It's Don Felder right here on your Classic Metal Show.